Hi, Facebook, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ross Murray. I am the Senior Director of the GLAAD Media Institute, and right now I am being joined with the cast and creative team behind She Flies by Her Own Wings. Hi, how are you? Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having us.
How's Tribeca so far?
It's been fantastic.
Good, good. If you want to introduce yourself and talk about your roles, if you want to start.
Yeah, so my name is Jesse Ayala. I'm the director of the film Authentically Us, She Flies by Her Own Wings.
My name is Shannon Scott, and I am the subject of the film. Is that the right way to say that, Jesse? Yeah. The subject?
You're subject.
Star.
The star.
My name is Jeremiah Allen, and I'm the project director with Transform Washington at Pride Foundation, and I am a co-creator on this project.
And a little bit of background. So She Flies by Her Own Wings is part of the Authentically Us series, which is a series of 3 short films told in virtual reality that follow the lives of transgender people living in the Pacific Northwest, and both getting a look at their life, but also kind of the challenges that are being faced too. So is there more you want to say about how this came about, Jesse?
Yeah, so the films are being created in partnership with Facebook and Oculus through a program called VR for Good. Mm-hmm. And so that pairs me as a filmmaker with Pride Foundation to tell stories that change discourse and get people to see things in new perspectives. So the film is a series of 3 stories about 3 very different characters within the transgender community to show diversity about experience and also things that this community has to face.
And She Flies by Her Own Wings is having its world premiere at the Tribeca Film Festival right now.
Right now, yes.
But it's part of the trilogy, which are kind of all having their own premieres.
Yes, so the first film, which is called We're Still Here, was premiered at South by Southwest Film Festival in April of this year. And then the third film, which will be called A Treasured State, will be premiering this summer.
Very nice. And Shannon, so when I was watching it, one of the very first things that you say in this is kind of being asked about is the world ready for the next frontier of human rights? And you sort of give this, it's this stoic answer that sort of describes we are always being challenged by inclusion and justice, and that's going to kind of always be the case, and people are always going to be uncomfortable about that. Can you say more about that? Because I thought it was incredibly wise.
Well, I think that there's always going to be new frontiers, especially when we're talking about equality. This is just the one that we're fighting today, but in the past there have been, many fights for equality, whether it's around gender or race. Mm-hmm. And so progress is something that is always going to be something that we're striving for. And so when I was speaking to that is what I was referring to is, as long as we always keep trying to be better people, we always will be better people.
It seems like you're keeping your energy up to continue doing that work too.
That's a really good point. This work is so very, very important to me, and that's because I've struggled a lot in society just to be genuine and to be authentic and to be who I am, and to have those barriers, they make life a lot harder than it should be. And so keeping my energy up and maintaining, a good balance between self-care and doing the work we do is a very, very important thing. And that's a lesson that I've learned over time, to be honest with you, is the balance and the not to burn out, because I'm so very passionate about it. All 3 of us and the entire organization here is so passionate about it. But we all know that sometimes that work can lead us to burnout. And so, energy is important.
Well, and I want to ask Jeremiah too, how Pride Foundation got involved and how you helped to find the subjects for this film.
Yeah, definitely. So a part of the Oculus VR for Good, which brings nonprofits and filmmakers together. So Pride Foundation was the nonprofit organization because of the work that we do with Transform Washington and the storytelling and uplifting of trans and gender diverse folks, specifically in Washington State, but also regionally within the Pacific Northwest. And so that's how we got involved. And we currently, through Transform Washington, do storytelling using social media and 2D, the flat screen storytelling. And so it was great to be able to partner with Jesse and create the virtual reality storytelling, this new platform, this new media to share the story. So it's definitely been a great experience to be able to use that new technology.
How did you find the subjects, the leads?
Yes, so Jesse and I put out a call around the Pacific Northwest and nationally, but we ultimately chose folks in the Pacific Northwest. Just looking for different trans and gender diverse folks who are interested in sharing their stories, and so we were lucky enough to have Shannon and some other folks and our 2 other subjects apply. And and be able to get these really amazing 3 different stories of transgender folks.
Tell me about the 3 films and kind of how the 3 stories and people are different from each other.
Yes, so our first story, which premiered at South by Southwest, is about Aiden, and they are a two-spirit individual who lives in Boise, Idaho. They're a historian, and the film really focuses on them kind of documenting the cultural significance of a gender identity with their Native American two-spirit identity. And then we have Shannon, who is a veteran, amazing trans activist, sharing her story and kind of the fight and pursuit with the current administration and lots of the anti-trans work currently that's happening with that administration. And then we have Acton, who is a amazing black transgender man in Montana who is a artist. He creates lamps and is just really sharing the story of just a normal, typical man living his life in Montana who just happens to also be transgender.
And so Shannon, for your experience, I know a lot of your story focuses on the transgender military ban that was announced over Twitter last summer and then has been facing like legal challenges and on again, off again. First, do you want to describe your military experience a little bit?
Sure. So I served just under 12 years in the United States military. And during those years, I deployed all over the world, to Saudi Arabia and to Iraq and to South Korea, and then several other locations throughout the United States, North America, and abroad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. And your veteran status now, correct? Or are you
Yes.
still active? Okay.
No. I had to leave the military because of my gender status.
Okay. So this policy has personally affected you?
Yes, in a very real way.
Mm-hmm. I guess even having to have left, as you're kind of following the news of this ban, how is that affecting you now?
It's hard not to take it very, very personally. I remember very vividly the day that I was threatened with a dishonorable discharge when I was outed at work for being transgender. And so that pain is revisited each time I see the tweet or each time I see it in the news. And so it's very real. And the wound is still very fresh because it was very, very difficult for me to have to leave the United States military. I didn't want to leave. I was very proud and very happy to serve our country. And it was a very fulfilling thing to do. So when I see people suffering, the thousands and thousands of people now having to re-suffer that same pain that I did, there's just something within me that says this is wrong, and people shouldn't have to go through that in order to do something so noble as serving our country.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I want to mention, and this is for Jesse, but I wanted to mention too, this is not a traditional screening. This is an experience. You don't have a scheduled screening. You're now open for the whole run of the film festival. And people can go in and experience this short film in a virtual reality experience, which seems so much more kind of personal and immersive. Like I'm sitting next to Shannon or walking next to Shannon while she's having her experiences too. Can you describe for our audience a little bit what VR filmmaking is like, both as a filmmaker and then also what they should expect as an audience?
Yeah, so as a filmmaker, VR is a relatively new medium. And a lot of the films that I work on are about social issues. And the reason why I work in this medium is because it is uniquely positioned as one of the few medias that we have today that doesn't have competing screens. You basically, by putting on a headset, are agreeing to not be disrupted by the buzz of your phone or a tweet or something else that might be happening. And because of that, it allows you to connect with whoever is on screen at a deeper level. So for us, we filmed all 3 of them in this medium because we wanted to have people walk away from these stories feeling like they've met these people.
Well, and for Shannon, again, I guess one thing we've seen the news about the transgender military ban sort of being told in other formats. Obviously, there's been news coverage of this as well. GLAAD has been involved with the documentary Transmilitary, which was at South by Southwest as well. And then even things like scripted television shows. We worked with an actor who played a member of the military on a recent TV show. What does it mean to kind of have your story told in this sort of format?
I think that there's something incredibly humanizing about it. When you talk about if we only could have each individual out there in America or in the world meet a transgender person, there's something so very personal and humanizing and relatable about that. And then once you meet somebody and you realize that they're in a way, just another person, just like you, that have the same struggles, that have to worry about the same things, paying the mortgage, mowing the lawn, whatever it might be, I think that there's something that changes in a person.
Can you talk a little bit about the partnership with Oculus VR for Good? What was their interest in wanting to tell the story of the transgender people?
Yeah. So I definitely think that working with Oculus and VR for Good has been an amazing experience, and their interest is really just sharing stories that haven't been told and trying to change and create the way we talk about different social issues. And I don't know if Jesse wanted to add to that.
Yeah, I think one of the unique things about our project within Oculus VR for Good is that it's the first series that Oculus has ever created about anything, and to have that be about transgender people is quite an amazing accomplishment.
That's a great first out of the gate.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
they were very supportive in every way, and it's also been such a blessing to work with them because they're members of the LGBTQ community at every level of the production, from sound mixing to our team to people at Facebook and Oculus.
That's excellent. So one last question for all three of you. What's the biggest thing you want people to take away from having their experience with this film?
For me, I would say the desire to learn more. Like the desire to start to see people just as human. And that was, I think, the underlying goal of all of the films. Shannon's is that, you should be allowed to work and do whatever you please. Acton's is basically the theme, you should be allowed to live wherever you please. And with Aiden's, it was a theme of that trans people are not a new invention, that they've been here throughout time and they will continue to be.
Very cool.
I think I have a twofold takeaway. The primary one would be for those who are not members of the transgender community or who haven't met someone, there's a level of education and awareness that is an incredible gift to both them and our community to build that strong allyship and that bond that we need to go forward and create real equality. So that's a huge gift that this project gives to all of us, really. And then second, I would say that one of the takeaways I would want is for members of the transgender community that might have been struggling or might still be struggling with where they are in their transition or in their life, to know that I too had those struggles and I too went through those really dark days where I didn't know if going forward was a possibility. And then to have this visible and have my life show now and how incredibly, incredibly happy I am. I hope that they can see that and say, you know what, I can be happy like that too.
Yeah, so being able to see this project come together has been so incredibly personal to me as a transgender person and as a person who all of my work is committed to educating around transgender life. So it's been amazing to see this project to come together. And ultimately, what I hope when people watch it and go away is that they honestly feel that they've met a transgender person and that they now have a friend.
That's excellent. So She Flies by Her Own Wings is at the Tribeca Film Festival. It is playing all week long. It is an immersive VR experience. And if you are in the New York City area and can watch, I highly encourage you to see it. It's really cool. And so Jeremiah Allen and Shannon Scott and Jesse Ayala, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.